You are here because you are overwhelmed with the combat in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The combat system, it's a little bit complex and there's definitely a skill element to it. And if you're new to the genre of medieval slasher games or directional based combat games, this can seem overwhelming, but especially when you're fighting multiple enemies at a time, it can seem really overwhelming and you feel like you don't have time to kind of figure things out and learn the combat system. So as someone with an excessive amount of hours in games like Chivalry 2 and Mordhau, I'm going to help you guys specifically navigate through those group fight encounters. So this video is going to have three real key elements. We're going to talk about settings real quick. Then we're just going to talk about like the philosophy of target selection. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go into a much more complex topic of how do we navigate through group fights as far as our movement using our dodge features, our target selection, like what is going through my head and how I'm choosing to move where I move and who I'm choosing to attack. And I'm going to have a bunch of graphics to show you guys the different kind of philosophies that I operate and how I pick to move in the directions I pick. But these are decisions that are made in, again, fractions of a second that come through experience. So I think I can kind of help you guys get into my mindset in how I'm doing these things. So let's start with the most basic thing I can tell you guys, but it is super important, and that's that you go into your settings and you change your field of view to the max setting that you can. I believe it's 110. Field of view gives you something that you need in group fights, and that is vision. If your enemies are not able to be on your screen, it's impossible for you to navigate through the group fight and really know what you're doing without just kind of predicting where people are going or when they're going to attack, right? It's all about visioning these things, and we're going to be talking a lot about keeping enemies in your vision throughout this video. And the second element I want to touch on real quick is our target selection, because I'm going to mention this a bunch of times throughout the video. And I always like to, in my chivalry community, I have a saying, always pick the low-hanging fruit. That means you pick and isolate the weakest player that you can find immediately and get them eliminated and out of the fight, because the quickest way to turn a 4v1 into a 3v1, a 2v1, and then a 1v1 is take out the weakest enemies first. So then you can work on dueling the strongest opponent, because duels in this game aren't that difficult. So once you get down to those 1v1s, you can really let your mechanics show, but you got to get the enemies out of there first who are a little bit weaker. So go for the naked guys first. So enemies like to kind of surround you or mob you in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This was a problem in the original game, but it's, I think, a lot easier to navigate here in the sequel, and it feels like you could do it a lot better. So I like to use these visuals right here. We're going to use a green dot as our character, and we're going to use red dots to visualize the enemies. So a lot of times if you're fighting, you're going to have one person who's going to be straight on for you, and you're going to have another guy off to the side. Now I'm just going to pop in a third for a second. It would form almost like a triangle of people kind of trying to surround you, on one on each side and one in front of you. You do not want this to happen, but let's go back to if there's just two enemies. So you get almost this like half triangle or this diagonal line where one is ahead of you and one is on the side of you. Now, what a lot of people are doing, which is why they're getting absolutely mobbed, is they're just standing still and trying to fight them both at the same time, or moving to the person and engaging with the person in front of them while they allow the guy moving to their side to just freely beat on them with a stick. This is not good. What you want to do is move in this direction so that you get the guy who's on your side to actually be the guy in front of you. Then you're going to have both enemies directly lined up in front of you so that you can see them both pretty clearly. And the second enemy is too far away to attack you, so you're really turning it into a 1v1. So how do you do this movement where you reposition the fight? Well, there's two ways that you can do it. One, you can either just walk in that direction as the fight's happening. You back up and move in the direction that you want to go so that you kind of can make some distance and get to where you need to go. Or you can wait for an enemy attack if they attack at the right time, and you can use the dodge feature to either dodge straight to the side, or you can dodge backwards, which will give you a little bit more distance to move with just your WASD keys to get your enemies in the position you want, but you really want them in this position that I'm going to show now, which is where the enemies are both kind of in front of you on your screen, so you have vision of them. And when you get to that 3v1 or even 4v1, this triangle position that I like to call it is the worst spot you can be in gaming, especially in this game because you're going to get your head beat in. So, what you do in these situations now when you're up to three enemies is you're going to have to pick a direction that you go in the triangle. So, it's either going to be the guy on the left or the guy on the right. Generally, it's not going to be an even triangle, so you make a read in real time. Who is the closest enemy to my side? I should move towards them because then I can get enough distance from the other enemy going to my side that his weapon's not going to be long enough to hit me. If I can get that enemy that's closer to me on the side in front of me, then I now have a 1v1 with him, a guy behind him, and another guy a little bit off to the side. If we can finish him or get damage on him, then that's a good thing for us. So let me show you guys with a screenshot and then an actual video in game. All right, if we look over here at this still life, I almost have a perfect triangle of enemies here. So I have to make a selection of who I'm going to attack. I want you guys to think of that while the still life is up. Who should I attack? Who should I move to? All right, let's hop in the clip and see what I do. And you're going to notice that this clip, it was a pretty even triangle. So what I did was I picked the guy on the left first. I got him out of there very quick with a master strike. And then I went to the next closest guy, was able to get him out of the way with a master strike also. And then we got to the last one left standing. But this timing and target selection is what allowed me to do that. Now, my next clip is a 2v1. I think you guys are going to notice that there's probably someone I really want to kill first. But the situation is a little bit different in that I'm going to have to fight the guy in the heavier armor first because he is the only one in range. So as this fight commences, you guys are going to notice that I do engage with him, but I'm using my movement in a diagonal pattern to switch to the guy who's quite a bit weaker in the first available moment that I can. I'm able to get him isolated and in my range where I'm safe from the stronger enemy's Warhammer, so I can engage with him and kill him, and now I'm able to pull back to the stronger enemy, and we're able to get in a 1v1. So as you play through these group fights or these group clips, what should be going through your mind as you play is, one, do I have all the enemies in the fight on my screen? Can I see everyone? That is step one. Step two, which way should I move to get myself so that only one enemy can attack me at a time, and then move to whichever direction that is best? And step three is, can I isolate or can I target the weakest characters so that I can get them out of there and then focus all my energy on the harder character to fight? And these are all decisions that you make in real time. There are also elements to this of things like terrain. Can you pull the characters into a tight path so that they can only come at you one at a time because they won't be able to push past the other guys? There's also an element of if your enemy has archers, if you can position yourself where the enemy swordsmen are between the enemy archers and yourself, the archers will not shoot at you because they're going to hit their own troops, and there is friendly fire in this game. All right, and then before we go, there is an element of target switching to this game that you're going to have to be able to manipulate the lock on that comes along with the game to navigate these group fights and make sure you're on the proper target. And some of the times the enemies can get kind of close, right? And kind of bunched up, and you have to kind of navigate how am I going to switch my lock on and who do I switch my lock on to? And I like to say there's a bit of a distance control element to this game of being able to understand which enemy can hit you and from how far. If someone is using a shield and a warhammer, they have to be absolutely right in your face to hit you. So if they're a few feet away, it's not the end of the world. You probably don't want to lock on to them, right? You want to pick the closest person who has a chance to hit you because that's going to be the only person who's going to swing, right? So you have to play this little game of who is the closest person to me, who has the best chance to hit me. Now, if they have halberds in their group, this changes things completely. Halberds are a pain in the ass to fight, but generally you won't see them until the later game or if you piss off the guards. But if you notice as I fight some of these battles, I'm switching my camera pretty regularly between enemies because as you're moving around and the fight happens, the guy who's closest from you, or to you, sorry, that switches pretty regularly. So you always want to be locked on the guy who has the best chance of attacking you so that you're ready to either master strike him or parry and get some sort of counter back. Now, in these group fight situations, I like to say throw out damage where you can put damage, but what you don't want to do is get so focused on killing one guy that you stop blocking the other people that are coming at you because you know he's like one shot away. Get your hit in and reassess the situation, move around, and pick the best target. If you're patient and you land strikes in where you can, you're going to get kills and you're going to do a good job in these fights. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope the visuals put into you guys how you should kind of position or start positioning yourself so you can have some success in these battles and you're not just running in there and die. All right, if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed the video a lot, I'm gonna have somewhere up here is gonna pop up another video that's just some general combat tips for me that'll help you if you're struggling more in that 1v1 aspect of picking up the mechanics of the game. All right, guys, that's it. Champ out.